Well, you're still a handsome guy, but you were quite the looker back in the day. Yeah, we were curious. It doesn't seem to be on your agenda, and I'm not sure how appropriate you think it all is, but at some point I had certainly had an interest in questions about life history.
Well, one of the things that has come out in terms of my sending you all that stuff that I thought eventually I would write is I sort of explored my education in terms of why I don't write, why I don't like to write. And the earliest thing I remember is a English teacher in high school, probably in the 10th grade, asking whether I wouldn't want to write for the high school paper. And I said no, because I got very quickly involved in the science and photography clubs. In fact, the science teacher got really angry with me once because I decided to try out for the senior play, and he thought I was wasting my time acting when there was more interesting work to be done in the science club and things like that.
So you had a literary interest?
Well, I didn't have a literary interest. She apparently picked up that I maybe had some competencies, right, but I never pursued them. So in my 2 years of junior college, I was totally invested in science, mathematics. I took the required 2 years of German and have a bad language.
In college? In community college?
In community college.
Why did you go to community college?
Well, we were poor.
All right.
My brother went to the junior college. Let me go back on that. We moved out of Grand Rapids when I was starting the 6th grade because my father couldn't find work in Grand Rapids. He was in the furniture industry, and the furniture industry collapsed. And this was back in '33. He found a job. It collapsed earlier than that, probably in '32, and he was pounding the pavement for a year. So we were on relief, and I remember going to pick up milk and beans and things of that kind and going to the barber and saying, "My dad will see you later," which means my dad would take over a jar of peanut butter that we got from welfare to pay for my haircut. And so he got the job in Chicago, and we moved to Chicago, which means we lost everything in terms of the house. The dog was sent to the pound, and so I completed 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in the miserable schools of Chicago.
Oh dear.
Not only, and how bad I found out later when I actually supervised teachers in Chicago. I mean, I'll never forget some of those experiences.
When you were at DeKalb?
When I was at DeKalb, yeah. So we came back to Grand Rapids. My brother had finished high school in Chicago and went to the junior college. He was already interested in pre-med. And then he went to Calvin College to finish his BA, which was also in Grand Rapids, of course. And so when I finished high school, we still had no money. And I went to junior college, which cost me $25 a semester. And I was also working and helping to pay for my mother's hospital bills. And my interest was totally in science, mathematics. I don't remember taking any social studies or social science work at all in the junior college. And so I didn't have any opportunity or any educational reason for doing anything that required writing. I mastered calculus on my own, and I was a master with the slide rule, and was, even in my freshman year in junior college, became the lab assistant in the chemistry lab.
I wonder if any of this early interest in the sciences is reflected in what you said earlier this morning, that you're interested in a grammar. I mean, linguistics is a kind of science.
Yeah, well, that it could be. Yeah, I wouldn't deny that.
Well, how did you make the move from Grand Rapids to College Station?
Oh, well, that's because I enlisted in the Army.
I see.
The Pearl Harbor occurred in December 7th, 1941. I enlisted in 1942. I don't remember the exact dates. It was probably in the spring or maybe the summer, probably the spring, although I could check those data out. And I enlisted because I thought that that might enable me to complete my second year of college. I went enlisted in the reserve. And we were called up for active service in the spring of '43, and a group of us who were all in the reserve petitioned the Army to let us finish our term, which they did do. So I was able to complete my second year of college. I went into basic training in the summer of '43 down in Texas, and this was for the infantry, and somehow or another the Uncle Sam was kind enough to identify me as one that shouldn't be killed right away, and sent me to Texas A&M to study electrical engineering.
Right.
So I spent 15 months at Texas A&M in electrical engineering, where again my math and science skills were uppermost.
Did you enjoy that?
I enjoyed it the first. I was there for 15 months. I was there for 5 terms. I enjoyed it for the first 3 terms, I think, and then I got a little bit bored with it. One of the things that happened is Texas A&M had one dormitory area where on the one side of the dorm campus there must have been about 5 dorms on each side. The Army was on one side, the Navy was on the other side, and there must have been 2,000 or 3,000 Army men there. And after the Battle of the Bulge, and there were programs in mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, I'm not sure which. The Army needed the manpower for fighting in Germany, in Italy, Europe, and all of the engineering programs except electrical engineering had to drop out of school and go over to Europe. And I was one of the few remaining people to complete the 5 terms of electrical engineering. So I had a degree, I had a certificate in electrical engineering from Texas A&M.
But you didn't finish the degree.
Well, they didn't offer a degree because it was a matter of completing the program that was designed for the Army. So it wasn't a degree program. It was a certification kind of thing. But yeah, I was involved in radar work, large engineering projects, handling servo mechanisms with tank controls and things of that kind. And after finishing that program, the Army sent me to Camp Crowder to focus particularly on radios, and in terms of basically repair and things of that kind. So I was in the Signal Corps, and I spent 9 months there in Camp Crowder, which is near Neosho, Missouri, your area. Lovely area. I really enjoyed, geographically I enjoyed the area. But while I was there, while most of my colleagues were going to local bars, a couple of us went to the Neosho Public Library. And that's where I started to read in other fields. And that's when I started to read, I think, Dewey and Hutchins and probably Russell, and I don't know what else.
Do you remember how you came across it?
No, I have no idea. I have no idea. Well, yeah, I do. I remember in about that time when I was at Camp Crowder, it might have happened also when I was at Texas A&M, although I'm not sure of that, thinking, how in the hell does it happen that so many of us are so poorly educated? And I really became curious about education
I
at
wonder
that.
why you thought that.
Because I didn't think I was particularly well educated.
Yeah,
I was well educated technically,
right.
but I wasn't well educated in other ways. So I started to read, and it was there that I began to think that, I wanted to know why I was not better educated, and I thought the thing to do, I'm not sure when this insight came, I thought the thing to do was indeed to start to study education at the beginning level. And if I understood what happened in the elementary schools, then perhaps I could understand what happened. So I, sometime within that period, decided to go into elementary education to find out, not because I wanted to be a teacher, but because I wanted to find out about education.